Agus now called Deputy Michael Kilreevy. Jen O'Meara.
The Good Friday Agreement was signed in April 1998. The agreement enjoyed the support of the vast majority of people in Ireland, north and south, and is underwritten by the British and Irish governments and enshrined as an international agreement. Now, the Good Friday Agreement was not solely about ending a war. It was about rebuilding this country, north and south. It was about two governments recognising that communities in the 6 counties and their neighbours in the 26 counties, and particularly those living in the border area, had been severely disadvantaged ever since the foundation of this state. If one were to look at an infrastructural map of the island of Ireland in 1998, one can clearly see the border between 6 and 26. Even more distinctly is the infrastructural border between the east and the west of this island. And I'm sorry to say that in the 15 years since the signing of the Good Friday Agreement, there have been very few improvements or redressing of the infrastructural imbalances between the east and the west and the north and the south. There have been many studies, reports and plans, but little improvement in, for example, the Belfast-Sligo Road, which leads on down to Galway, the Belfast-Cavan Road and other cross-border roads. The northwest is still regarded as difficult to access by those who might wish to set up business, work or holiday in the area. The austerity programmes in both the 6 and 26 counties are not compatible with the solemn declarations set out in the Good Friday Agreement. How can we reverse this advantage by reducing income of the poor and the vulnerable? How can we describe ever-increasing state charges on people as a peace dividend? The truth of the matter is that this government and the British government are focused on the balance sheet at the end of this year and not on the strategic developments necessary to make a real and lasting contribution to peace and prosperity on this island. What difference has the Good Friday Agreement made to people in our communities who cannot afford the basic essentials? To people, especially young people in our communities, who have had to emigrate? To people the length and breadth of Ireland whose public services are being dismantled in the name of austerity? One of the biggest impacts on this part of the country of partition was the separation of the industrial north from the rest of the country. This did result in the south being underdeveloped in infrastructure, and which ended up with a lagging economy for many years and indeed decades. And the only sustainable model for infrastructural development in Ireland must be based on an all-island economy. Minister Pat Rabbitte is currently working on a north-south energy interconnector between the 6 and the 26 counties, and proposes an energy interconnector between Ireland and Britain to facilitate the export of energy generated by wind to the Midlands, wind energy in the Midlands to our neighbouring islands, so that Britain can help reduce their liabilities for carbon tax. Currently, the amount of energy received to households across Ireland from renewable energy is insufficiently low. What we need is an all-Ireland strategy on renewable energy, and Sinn Féin in both Leinster House and in Stormont have called indeed for such a renewable energy strategy. The wind doesn't stop blowing when it reaches the border, nor does the tide stop at Inishowen. The development of an all-Ireland renewable energy strategy is essential for energy security into the future. With rising oil and gas prices, an all-Ireland economy needs a competitive edge, and we are uniquely placed to develop and use renewable energy sources. What we don't need is the use of fracking that would put in danger the environment and the very health on people on both sides of the border. I do welcome the fact that the EPA are currently carrying out a report investigating the possible use of fracking in Ireland. I do welcome the fact that this investigation is being done on an all-island basis. However, if fracking is allowed on one side of the border, it will not necessarily mean that those on the other side will be protected if fracking is banned. I said earlier that the wind doesn't stop when it reaches the border, nor the tide stop at Inishowen. And poisoned water does not stop at an artificial border in this country. We need to take an all-island approach to the protection of human health, and therefore the decision in relation to fracking needs to be made on an all-island basis. In relation to telecommunications, mobile phone companies can legally impose roaming charges on customers who cross the border, or indeed on customers who approach but don't cross the border. The Taoiseach often says that he wants this to be the best small country in the world in which to do business. I support the Taoiseach in this. However, the fact that roaming charges remain is a serious impediment. Ireland, in comparison to other developed countries, has a very poor communications infrastructure. Much of this problem stems from the privatisation of Telecom Éireann. Roaming charges on what is relatively a small country simply do not make sense. If we are to bring our telecommunication service up to speed with the rest of Europe, we need to abolish these roaming charges. The Good Friday Agreement was not an end point, but only a beginning. It needs buy-in from the government in the 26 counties if we are to reap the full benefits of the agreement. And that means that government needs to buy in to developing the infrastructures on an all-Ireland basis. One electricity grid, one gas network, and one strategy for developing renewable energy. There we would be talking of a proper dividend from the Good Friday Agreement. Thank you, Chairman.